Hey, what up, guys? Right, we back, man. Another episode, man, of Resiliency Cam. We in the building with Jalen Boogie. No, I call him Boogie, right? Jalen Brown, man. Brother. You know what I'm saying? Best friend, man. Somebody I grew up with since, man, sixth grade. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just glad to, know and be sitting down with. How you feeling today, Boog?
Good, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's going to be nice to chop it up again. It's been a while.
Hey, yeah, no, man. It's definitely been been a while, man. I know, y'all, everybody been asking, like, where's Waldo? They been like, where's Jalen? So, right, guys, he's right here, okay? He's here, man. He's back home. So, man, just thankful, like I say, once again, to just have you, man.
Yeah, of course.
For real, man. First off, for a lot of y'all who don't know, man, like, Jalen, because he's going to be humble, y'all, so I gotta talk that talk for him, man. Like, even on the field when we played together, Jalen was the scoring, you quiet guy, no celebration, maybe a little rah here and there, but it was me, right? I had to do all the talking and all that good stuff. But man, one of the best wide receivers to ever come out of Arizona, one of the best players to ever come out of, Arizona, period. Where did that talent start from for you, Bud? Like, was you always gifted just growing up, or like, where did that come from?
Man, yeah, I mean, since I could remember, I was playing sports, everything you could think of, soccer, baseball, basketball, football, and it was pretty well apparent early on that I had some talent for sure. But it was just that consistent grind for all of them since I was a kid. I mean, there were days where I'd have baseball in the morning, basketball in the afternoon, and soccer at night, and just rinse and repeat. Right. So it was just that consistency that would really gave you that push.
Right. And when you talk about, like, guys, he's not lying. Like, when you talk about two moms, you want a mom like Taylor. Shout out to Sarah, right? Like,
hey, I've never met someone to get kicked out of another kid's game that I wasn't even playing in. She was just that passionate. So
right. That's what I'm saying.
Awesome.
So you could always see her like all 6'5" of her, right? Like, that's why Jalen's like so tall too as well. But man, Boog, like, so you always had that talent, and you end up like just focusing on like mainly like football and basketball. To you started focusing on football. When did you start taking that seriously? Because I know, like, even going into 8th grade, I remember like Coach Vaughn was asking me, he's like, what do you think Jalen's gonna play, JV? Like, nobody knew what you was gonna do, man. And then like your freshman year of high school, All-American offers. Talk about how that was, man, and then talk about how it was to have so much pressure. Like, I wouldn't say hype because you lived up to it, like, so, and I wouldn't even call it hype, but like just having that pressure, like everybody's like, Jalen Brown is gonna be this and be that. Like, talk about that pressure as such a young child.
Yeah, I mean, it probably started around 6th, 7th grade where things were starting to get a little bit more serious. Getting invited to all these different types of camps and combines, and getting an opportunity to go compete at a national combine in Oklahoma. The NUC combine stuff,
right?
Oklahoma and Chicago. He was there for the Chicago one, and it just picked up real quick. In regards to Coach Vaughn, he actually came to see me 8th grade to go play, like during a Pop Warner game, and I'm like, what's this high school coach doing out here bothering with me?
Right.
And so from the jump, it was apparent that I was going to be playing football or basketball, and taking that to the next step.
Right.
And the pressure aspect kind of comes in two waves. First is the external pressure of everybody wanting you to succeed and you wanting to live up to their expectations, but more so just to just show that you're worthy of this praise and these compliments, and not to disappoint the people who believed in you. And so I guess the second wave to that is that internal pressure. So just I'm my biggest critic. I'm always challenging myself, telling myself to do better. Sometimes I just eat myself away, just a little too much jarring at myself, trying to be the best. And whether it be on the field or in the classroom or playing video games, like, I'm trying to win,
Right.
And so it was tough early on being able to balance both of those pressures. Because once I was doing well, I just wasn't satisfied. I was just like, I want more.
Right.
And so that sometimes gave me that kind of absent-mindedness to, this is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something I enjoy. So.
Right. Because that's what I was thinking in my head. I'm like, I'm like, man, when you always like critiquing yourself and things like that, I realize like it's kind of hard to be happy. Like it's kind of like, don't you think like to a sense, like I know for me, like I said, it's kind of hard to be happy because you always like, you never satisfied.
Right.
You're like, I want more. And like, that's why sometimes like you always hear people all the time and like, you know, it's so cliche, but they be like, you know, like you got to stop being so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta like enjoy it, like you know what I'm saying. Like you gotta be grateful for the little things, like the success we did have. And I know like that's for me what's helped me to move forward in this life. Because you know like expectations, you know, since you were a child, like you always hearing about Jalen around this dude. You're in the 7th grade dunking, you know what I'm saying? Like always like, and like you say, just being a competitor, you know, always wanting to win. To you know going on to Oregon, you know what I'm saying? Crazy, right? Like, how was that experience, man? Like, getting every offer in the country and stuff like that.
I'm not gonna lie, it was fun. You know, being able to explore Ohio State and sit in the office with Urban Meyer and go to Wisconsin and go to a sorority party with some college kids and ride mopeds and just like all the perks of that. And you know, having the options to choose where I go to school and play.
Right.
It was pretty fun for sure.
You know, one thing I thought about, I won't say too much on camera, but when we was back at the U.S. Army game and Jalen got mad at me. Me and a few guys in the room, it was funny. Jalen was definitely not
we definitely had some brotherly spats. Remember, we even had that camp up north in high school when we was getting into it on the field.
I'm sure. Man, so funny, bro. Why Oregon?
I think ultimately it came down to being somewhat close to home, but not too close. Being able to experience something new, and then secondly, just being able to compete with the best of the best. Like I could have gone to a smaller school and had a little bit easier opportunity from the jump, but you know, living in a competitive world my whole life, I was like, I don't want to take an easy way out.
Right.
So ultimately it came down to that. And then in regards to the coaching staff, I just liked the change of pace that they were going with the new staff, and then saw an opportunity for, you know, a pretty pass-heavy offense. So.
Right. And then like going back, cause like that was like the thing surrounding like cause I know a lot of people was like, you know, you should have went to a different college, you should have went to where it was a different fit. And I mean, I even felt that way too. Would you still, if you could do it over, would you still commit to Oregon again?
I mean, I wouldn't change anything.
Gotcha.
Realistically, all that talk is just hindsight 2020. You could think back, but who you are now is completely different than who you were back then.
Right.
And I wouldn't be where I'm at without those decisions I've made.
Exactly.
And so every experience I've had has given me some guidance and knowledge to just keep on navigating forward.
Right. Because no, that's what we talked about. Like, I'm like, man, like you right. You could have had an easier opportunity. I'm like, Bud would have went to here, there, anywhere. I'm like, dude, he would have been.
I could have stayed here.
Right. He could have been. I'm like, he would have been the number one wide receiver right off the bat. Like, but like you say, just taking that, not that easy road. Like, you know what I mean? And no, that's definitely good. And then, you know, talk about that experience up there. Because like one thing that you posted, I think it was last week, right? Or you know, you was talking about you had posted a reel of you being at Oregon and then being at Northwestern. You talked about you know, you posted a clip and it was like talk about a time where you were down and nobody knew about it. You know, man, talk about that, man, because like it's so huge, you know, and especially for a lot of athletes and you know, being a man and all these things, you know, we got to mask our emotions and things like that. So, man, talk about that, man, because I feel like, man, that was something dope.
Yeah, man, you can definitely relate to the sense of, you know, football and sports was our lives. And when that identity takes some sort of adversity or obstacle that you're just not familiar with, it definitely tests you and challenges you. Right. And so in those moments for us, you know, we feel that we can't show those type of emotions or be vulnerable, or the problems that I'm having aren't legitimate. And so what do? You just strap up the helmet and go again. And so that was kind of the struggles I was going with when I got to Oregon. I actually graduated high school early.
Yeah, you did. You did graduate early. Right.
And I was the only one in our class to do that. So I was the only newbie really just thrown into the fire. I didn't have any sort of like transition. Right. And going from that to just a completely different environment, it was tough transition.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I was gonna ask, like, how was that, man? Like being up there early, you know what I'm saying? Like you say, the only kid in the class to do that. I thought that was dope. Like Boog left right after the U.S. Army game. I'm like, you moving to Oregon tomorrow? Like I was shook. But
yeah, I mean, you know, just being thrown into the fire, it was just.
Would you recommend that for high schoolers coming out? Like, would you recommend that they come out a little early? Or like, what do you think? Or like, would you say enjoy? Because you missed a lot of stuff. Like, it was like prom. Like, you didn't get to experience like all the stuff. I experienced it for you, know.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But like stuff like that, you kind of miss out on that. But like, what's the advantages of that as well?
I think for me, it was an even bigger challenge on not just football, but just me as a person, my character. You know, being able to take that risk to miss out on the fun activities and the senior year stuff, to go in and take that next step in my journey. And, you know, it just depends on the person. I wouldn't suggest one over the other.
Right.
But for me, it was just at that point when I was in high school, I was like, I've done everything I wanted to do. I've had fun. It was getting to a point where it was starting to get a little easy. Like, I'm ready for the next thing. So.
Right. No, that's real right there, man. Man, high school for us, y'all, I'm telling you, it was like Friday night lights. Like, we literally, man, like, Bud went to class. I didn't go to class, so I left class to him, man. And it's funny because I always tell people, like, even going back to the U.S. Army game, I'll never forget we was all out that night,
yeah.
You know, New Year's. And I'm like, that moment kind of revealed who we are. Like, I remember being with, like, you know, and I'm not saying like, oh, that showed the difference between us, because I'm not talking about nobody, but like, I remember it was like me, Nate Starks, Malik McDowell, It was you, Christian McCaffrey, and like, I remember like curfew was like 12:45, like, I think it was like 12:35, we still had like 10 more minutes, you and Christian like, we go into our rooms, and like, me, Malik, and Nate, we like, oh, we out, man, like, go ahead and go, man, like, we gonna run the town, and I remember we didn't get back to our room until like 3, 4 in the morning, but I'm like, man, it kind of just showed, man, like who we were kind of like at that time, man. But like, I'm just thankful, you know, for the experience. You know, I was kind of like a little knucklehead, so I mean, it was definitely good. And then, you know, Boog, like you was playing like as a true freshman. Am I correct, or was it a?
So I actually ended up redshirting the first year,
right?
And then second year, I started to play a lot on special teams, getting reps on offense, and just progressed from there.
Right. And then, am I not mistaken, I seen you as captain a few times, right?
Yeah.
Like, talk about that feeling, man. Because, like, to me, I was like, man, this shows who Jalen is, like, a true leader. And then, like, I seen you up there at Oregon. Like, this is a guy who's used to catching tons of passes, to you up there blocking, to you sacrificing. Like, you know, like those players on the team who, like, you know, of course, the stat sheet won't credit them, but you know, like, that's a big contributor to the team.
Right.
And like, to see you as a captain at Oregon, man, like, talk about that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my first 2 years at Oregon was a mental battle. I felt like I didn't have a trustworthy relationship with my coaches, and that ended up hurting my relationships with my teammates.
Right.
And so it was really just me battling myself for those first couple of years, and then getting to the point where, you know what, I'm hurting myself on the field by thinking like this.
Right.
And so that third year, I made a switch up mentally.
So not to cut you off, when you talk about that, was it like more like just like, because I know for me, it's like I always tell people, like, I'm like, yo, when I look back on it, I didn't enjoy college.
Right.
I'm like, I was so focused on getting to the next level. I'm like, I didn't want friends. Like you said, I didn't trust my coaches and all these things. And I'm like, was it coming from like just that high school experience to knowing your coaches, to actually knowing to that brotherhood, to meeting new guys? Was it that experience? Or like, what do you mean by that? Like, 'cause I'm like, I know that's what it was for me. Like, I didn't want to hang out with nobody. I didn't want to go to clubs. I didn't want to hang with nobody. I'm like, I just want to make it.
I mean, you know, our senior year, we had like the most seniors in a while, and we was close. Like, we was balling and grinding on the field.
Right.
And so when I went to college, it was, you know, he's from California, he's from Florida, he's from Texas, they're all over the place, and everyone's going there for the same mission. We're going league.
Right.
And so there's a lot of egos that come with that. And for me, it was less of I'm ready for the league. It's more of like, all right, how do I dominate college and be the best that I can be and really show up as a Duck? And I felt like, you know, the mindsets were different from who I was around.
Right.
You know, there's some politics behind, you know, the game.
For sure.
And I let that eat my conscience a little bit. And so after just kind of putting that off to the side, I said, you know, I'm just going to be the best player I can be. and that really switched things up for me. Ended up starting that third year, becoming a captain, being able to represent my team in a different way than just wearing a jersey and a number.
Right.
But actually being able to say, hey, like my coaches and my teammates believe in me and want me to help them, lead them to some wins.
Right, and that's respect. Like, what was it about you? What was it about Jalen that coach was like, okay, you're gonna be a captain?
Yeah, I think it was just I was never a rah person, never like mouthy.
Never.
And I just knew that if I go out there and just put in the most effort out of anybody, people are going to recognize. And I think that was kind of the biggest thing. Effort on blocking, effort on catching, effort on in the weight room, being able to prove that way, effort in the film room, just put in that extra little time and investment to just, be better and help those around me. And I think that was really what they saw.
Right. And then, like, one thing, too, like I always tell you, I told you, and I got to say it on camera, like, because Coach Neal, he was the DB's coach at Oregon, he comes to UAB, and he's like, Jalen Brown, like, kind of like, you came from Oregon, Jalen Brown? He like, of course I know Jalen Brown. Like, Jalen Brown's the best wide receiver I've ever been around. He just said, like, kind of same thing, like, just not the system. He was like, Jalen, and that's just all our opinion. Like, I'm sure you feel different, like you said. And of course, like, that's just us being, fans of the games and just wanting the best. So it's just us talking like that. Like, always, what if LeBron James or this, that, what if? So we always talk about like he was just saying, like, Jalen Brown's the best wide receiver I've ever been around. And he was like, just wrong system. He was like, he's an NFL wide receiver. He needs route running, downfield like stuff. And, of course, like I said, you can't take back the experience. You were captain, great games. What would you say was like your most memorable game?
It would probably be the last game versus Oregon State. My last game was a Duck, where I ended up having a trick play where I ended up throwing a touchdown.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
It was about 40 yards, too. It was a pretty good throw.
Right, he said it was about 40. I put a little warm into that one, right? And then so you transferred to Northwestern. Why?
So we actually had a coaching staff get cleaned out, so everybody was gone. And so we had a new coach coming in. And I was already debating on whether or not, I should stay here or not, just because of the situation I was in. But once this new staff came in, I had a talk with that coach. It was Taggart who came in. And I just, kind of just disagreed with his philosophy and approach to the game.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm just going to, take a shot and test things out. So put my name in the portal, had options. It was between Texas A&M, Penn State, and Northwestern.
Wow.
And
this is crazy. I did not know this.
Yeah, I was with Penn State. They had Coach Franklin and the receivers coach Gaddis there, but they were at Vanderbilt when I first got recruited, and they really wanted me to go, and I almost did.
Right, I remember you were really. I really thought you were going to Vanderbilt. Like they passed. I think they had like Jordan Matthews at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, he's definitely going to Vanderbilt.
And so that was like kind of a big thing for Penn State. And then Coach Mazzoni, he moved from UCLA to A&M. And he reached out, and I liked him as a coordinator. So it came down to, it was the later stage in my career. I was like, I want to make sure that whenever I'm done with football, like I've got the pedigree to do whatever I want. So that Northwestern really gravitated towards me. So
right. And like when you said like that pedigree to do what you want, was it more like was it more the schooling? Was it because like what did you go majoring in college?
Yeah, so my undergrad I majored in business and econ, and then my first master's at Northwestern was in sports business, and then I ended up getting a second one from Northwestern as well in data science.
Gotcha.
And
are you using that? Like, are you using that? Because I know a lot of people go and major in college, and like they say, you never end up using what you kind of like majored in. So
yeah, I'm definitely using it. Like I said before, I'm a competitor, so when it came to the classroom, I'm trying to optimize.
Jalen had like 4.5 in high school. Trail 1.1. I was better than that.
Not that good, but yeah, I mean, right now I'm a product manager for a startup, a 4-year startup. I'm mainly helping build different types of technology and websites and stuff. So
yes, we were talking about like, so are you actually like everything you actually studied in college, you actually using that?
Yeah, I'm just using it in different ways. My business degree, just that helps translate to everything, understanding markets, understanding how money flows, being able to talk to different stakeholders and teams, And then my sports business master is just being able to understand how that translates in a different type of industry, something where there's a high pressure element to it. You're relying on kind of performance based work and business. And then from my data science masters, I've been learning how to analyze information, make decisions off of that data and numbers, and then also been able to get a little programming in. So I've been doing a little bit of coding, even a little bit of like machine learning stuff. So.
Hey, y'all, see, look, I know this is made for Jalen. I'm getting a headache right now. I'm like, probably programming this, that. I'm like, I could never do any of this stuff. Right? They say you can do anything, but I'm like, man, I'm gonna leave that to Jay Brook, the genius right here.
I use it all to build products now. So I'm helping. My company's name is RepairSmith. We provide mobile car repair. So we come to your house, your office, wherever. Fix your car up, whatever you need, just right then and there.
Right.
And so I help build the infrastructure of our internal tools, our consumer website, working on all of our different like email campaigns and just helping build all that as more of like a facilitator. So I work with all the different teams, understand the problems at hand, and then I tell them, hey, this is the solution, let's get it done.
Right.
So.
Gotcha. And then, but I want to talk about, so you make the transfer to Northwestern. And like I know for me, like I'm like, man, Bug's about to go up to Northwestern, kill it. You go up there, you starting, and then the knee injury. Talk about what was that experience like? First off, like how were you feeling going to Northwestern, leading up to that injury in you, and kind of going back to that clip you posted last week. Posting you as a captain at Oregon Ducks, catches, all this great stuff you did to Northwestern, few catches to you on the ground.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, it was this sense of almost hope and like, all right, I get a fresh start. I get to put all the bad stuff behind me. Get a new identity for myself.
Right.
And within that first fall camp, I was just realizing like this is no new identity. This is the same thing, just somewhere else.
Right.
And so that hit me kind of hard. Like, why did I think like things were going to be so different that way?
Mm-hmm. Is that go back kind of like that saying, the grass ain't greener on the other side?
Exactly.
Right.
That was the lesson learned there for sure. And then started the first 3 games and got hurt. Actually, so I ended up blowing out my knee. I did both my ACL and my patellar tendon, which is kind of a rare combination. And so I did about 18 months before I was full go again.
Right.
And that moment, just being on the ground, it wasn't that much pain physically. It was just like all the adversity, all of the obstacles that I've gone over to, all right, I'm gonna take a risk and take this new challenge, resulted in this. And that's all I could think about was this my reward? And in the moment, it just killed me that way. And so just another mental battle where I just had to eat it and really just.
So how did you get over that?
Yeah, it was a dark time for a little bit. I was actually in this machine that helps move your knee, kind of keep it rotating and moving.
Right.
So I had to lay in bed and stay put, and I was doing that for like a month. So being bedridden for a month gave me a lot of time to think, and there's some demons in there just like telling me thinking like this or thinking like that, and it was a matter of whether or not I was going to succumb to that negativity or not. And I felt like I had already did that at Oregon a bit, and it hurt me both mentally and out on the field.
Right.
And I was like, at that point, I refused. I was so beat down mentally, like I just was not going to let it happen again. So went in there with the new mission of I'm going to recover the best way possible. Right. And it just kind of transformed from there, being to not even much a player anymore, but coaching the young guys in that receiver room, going in, watching film every day. A good relationship that I built with was Ramad Bowman, a receiver there. And to me, just seeing him, he just reminded me of myself when I was really in the game, feeling it.
Right.
And it was hard to get back to that again. I just felt like my role changed.
And one thing I like that you were talking about, like that you said, like, because I'm like, man, you helping somebody in the midst of your storm.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough for a lot of people to do, and like that just goes back to like who you always been, like a a selfless guy. What do you think helped you get over that hump though? Like during those dark times, because you talk about demons and facing things like that.
Yeah.
What helped you get over that hump?
I think the biggest thing or two things. One, understanding that the world doesn't revolve around me. There's a lot of things out of my control that just happens or is planned for something I just don't know of, and I can't seem to fathom what's going on. And that's okay to be in the unknown a little bit.
Right.
And then two, like you just said, I was being fairly selfish during that time in the sense of, I want this, why is this not happening? And forgetting, why I was there in the first place. And it was to really just make my family proud and compete and be the best I could be all around.
Right.
And I was losing that all around aspect. And so once I realized that, it was just a matter of just getting back in the rhythm, to talking to my family, talking to my teammates, being open about what was going on in my head. And so just, yeah.
No, for real, I definitely can relate because, like I say, you was asking me on camera, how was UAB? And I'm like, man, it changed my life.
Right.
It really saved my life because, like you say, go from every offer in the country, me and you, we get offers every day.
Yeah.
I don't think we were ever in class. We always chilling in the coach's office right now. We went to class, right? Everybody freaking hates Coach Ball. They're like, oh, he's a terrible. I'm like, he's the greatest coach. I don't care what nobody say. But just going back to having to go to JUCO, to getting myself back into shape, to ending up at UAB, to, like I said, I take a start job in 3 days.
Yeah.
Going to the next level and competing at that high level, it's guys from all over who's been doing this for years. They strong. He's a grown man. They 25, 26. I'm a young kid coming in, and I take a job in 3 days, and I'm starting, and we got the pads on it, and boom, I'm out 15 months.
Yeah.
And it's I'm like, man, at the time going through it, you why? Once again, I can't fathom, but I know for me that changed my life and saved my life because God had to force me to be in relationships with others. Like I said, when looking back on it, I'm like, man, it was such a tough time. I didn't want friends and anything. Now I gotta make friends.
Yeah.
Now I gotta count on, my friend Tyler Berry, my dog, that's my brother right there. He went to Hoover High School. I used to always tell him, I don't care how, Hoover used to be on tour days. I'm like, I don't care how nice Hoover is, we still would have kicked shots. I don't care that Chick-fil-A is served that chocolate ham and Duke Dots. Y'all got a college stadium, we would have came in there with shots. But I had to count on him taking me to the shower. I had to start to get out, like you said, start making friends, picking up the phone, talking to family again. Because like I said, it was a very dark time for me. Like I said, I didn't want to leave my room. I'm like you said, being bedridden, having to sit there and things like that. The best thing I ever learned, my brother Tavon told me, he was like, Trill, have you ever watched the Discovery Channel? I'm like, all the time. We always watch the Discovery Channel. He said, well, the devil's like a lion. He said, you see the zebras are traveling in packs. And he said, what do lions do? They wait on that one zebra to leave the pack. Yeah. And then what happens? Those lions jump on them.
Right.
And he was just saying, he said, the devil wants you to be isolated. He wants you to be in your room all day. He wants you to be not answering anybody calls and things like that because he's kicking your butt. And I'm like, it's so true, you know what I mean? And I felt like, man, the devil's definitely attacking me. So I had to build my faith. I had to do other things. I had to figure out myself, learn more about me. Right. So, and like I said, it helped me to now, having the faith I do now, dealing with things now, adversity, things like that, and just triumph and getting over those things. So it was definitely, like you say, you wouldn't be who you are without them. I was like, nah, it's definitely tough. Because I remember being in my relationship class and it was his husband and wife, and she was telling the football players, she's like, for you athletes, she said the hardest days of your life are going to be redefining who you are.
Right.
Because she you guys put all your eggs in one basket. I always felt like for you never put your eggs in one basket. I could be wrong, but I know how determined you were and things like that. So I know life meant, I don't know how your adjustment period was. So I'm not going to even try to guess it, but talk about that experience because there's a lot of athletes and former athletes who struggle with adapting to a normal life. Yeah. What was that experience like for you, and what's some advice you would give to them for these athletes?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of school, I felt that.
And just, sorry, not to cut you off, but I won't even say athletes, just anybody. Somebody, it could have been a music career that they gave up on, just redefining, stepping into a new lane.
Yeah. Yeah, after school, I had felt like I'd done a lot of exploring of interest,
Right.
and I've just always been fairly curious, and so I was happy I was able to do that in school, which I think that helped me make the transition out of playing and out of school easier.
Right.
And so I think the hardest part was just stepping into a whole new lane with, no true idea of what to do,
Right.
where you're just coming from 10, 15, 20 years of, I know how to play sports. Like, that's my identity.
Right.
And, that identity for me was shaken up a little bit through college. But then just going through that, redefining myself, I would phrase it a little bit different rather than redefining myself, but just more of just discovering more about myself. Going through sports, you learn a lot about, how you handle pressure, how you work with others, being able to perform in the spotlight. But outside of sports, there's a lot you don't really get to learn about unless you try it. How creative are you? How much do you really want to interact with people? Do you want to mentor people, or would you rather be more isolated and independent type work? And so I think my curiosity helped me navigate and explore all those type of areas.
Right.
And so I think the biggest advice I would give out to anybody is just explore. Take the chance to test things out, experiment, even if it's a quick little hobby or just a vacation or anything. Just step out of that comfort zone that you've been so used to see what's out there, because you're going to learn more about the world and also yourself doing that.
Right. And I like how you said, like, I wouldn't find it redefining, but just defining more of myself, like who I am and things like that. Yeah, man, because that's like I said, it's a sucky feeling, like I said, to see people we like grew up with, playing with, all those things, struggle to adjust to a real life. Why do you think so many people struggle adjusting?
Yeah.
I think for me, because one thing I learned in my leadership class, like, because like you were saying, there's two different types of views. It's that external view, it's what you think people are thinking of you. Then it's that internal view on what you want and stuff. And I'll never forget my teacher, going back to the leadership class, they were like, I had this girl, because they were talking about external and internal. They was like, this mom, this daughter and mom, like, the daughter was like, oh, I failed my test. My mom's going to be mad at me if I don't get straight A's and this and that. So she's all scared to go home, talk to her mom, all these things. And she's like, did you ask your mom what she want? And her mom like, I just want you to be happy. I just want you to finish school. And she like, see, she wasn't even expecting those things out of you. And I think personally, like, a lot of people, like, you just kind of, like you say, like you were going back to earlier, like what people think of you and then what you think of yourself and things like that. And I feel like that's where like a lot of the struggle be from. Like, just, I don't know, what's your view on that though? What's your take? Like,
no, I mean, I agree. I think, first, a shout out to my parents. They've been really helpful throughout my entire life and supportive and helping me be who I am today.
Right.
But to be honest, like, they didn't give me much thought into anything other than sports, really.
Right.
They, I know they want the best for me, but they saw the talent and the potential in me as an athlete, and they just, really got into it as much as I was.
Right.
And so that amplified investment into that one thing, like you said, not putting all your eggs in one basket, was what can make it tough for people to kind of get out of your head and make that transition. It can be a struggle when, you feel like you have these expectations to live a certain life or to be a certain character.
Right.
And I think that, kind of stems off into like depression. One thing that I saw was a quote about being depressed, and what I saw was depression can be a person who feels like they're playing a character they don't want to be.
Right.
And that's where a lot of struggle comes in. If you feel like you're living a life or you're in an identity that doesn't fit or doesn't make sense for you, you're going to struggle, whatever that is. Right. And so if you're given the opportunity, or give yourself the opportunity to expand, grow.
We're talking about depression and, playing a character that you really don't want to play. And no, that's definitely real. And I feel like that's what a lot of people do. How like, and you right, like you were talking about like reaching out to the community, helping others. Like, how could we help athletes that's, like I say, struggling with that transition? Like what are some things, like, have you thought about that? Like, cause I know for me, I'm like, man, maybe we could have jobs set up
Right.
Like, like workshops to teach them about the real world and, adapting and adjusting. Like, I don't know, just thinking because, it's a tough feeling, man, because, like, we're talking about even earlier, I'm like, why a lot of people lose their love and stuff, because it's different from high school. Somebody get hurt at practice, it's, okay, we all there, take a knee, this and that. Somebody gets hurt in college or at the next level, and it's like, move it up 10, 15 yards. And it's like, it's kind of like, like I said, it's like the military or something. It's like stepping over your brother that's dead or something. Like, it kind of teaches you like that next man up mentality type deal. So, adapting to the new world, like, what are some ways you think that we could, like, maybe, reach out to other former athletes and people who are just struggling?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, giving them the confidence and the invitation to try something new, to be something different and not be great at it.
Right.
As an athlete, you're told and taught to be a high performer, and there is no room for errors. And so coming out of it, it's a different mindset. It is okay to mess up, make mistakes, try, do poorly and not finish, and just, move on from that. And in regards to transitioning, I've actually been building out a business on the side for the past 5 years now. It's been all conceptual up until these past 2 years, but mainly just building an app to help students transition from school into a career by providing them those resources and opportunities to not only learn about what's out there, but to better learn about themselves daily and being able to figure out what that passion is and tie that to something that can help you, pursue a career that way.
No, it's definitely real. And like I said, like, just seeing that post you had made last week, like, definitely was something I could resonate with. And then, like, just the whole resilience, I'm like, you fit that. Like, bouncing back, like, situations not, working for you and still having to, figure it out, man. No, I definitely say, man, you stay calm under pressure, huh?
That got to be.
Nah, man, that's real right there, man. And like that's just like, cause man, it's a tough feeling. Like, it's a tough feeling when people telling you you're going first round, you're going this and that, and then you get hurt. It's like you're just another guy now. You're just another. It's like, once again, it's that next man up mentality, man. And that's why I'm like, man, so many people can't relate, cause I'm like, putting your, and I can't say so many people can't relate, cause I'm like, I'm sure people can relate, putting your all into something and then just not panning out, and you gotta, just keep.
You gotta adapt, shift, move, and keep moving forward. And it doesn't have to be all pretty, perfectly laid out plan. And life is ugly, and that's okay. It's intended for you to grow and to better understand yourself and improve as you go.
Right. And then it just made me think of like the Bruce Lee quote, like, be like water.
Yeah.
Because water is like forever just moving, flowing. So it's like just that adapt. Like, so like with your knowledge of the game, like, do you like when you look at like as far as giving back in the football aspect, like, do you see yourself coaching? Do you see yourself like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, when I first stopped playing, I was kind of in this mindset of, let me just focus on everything but football. Let me take a break mentally.
For real, I just got back to watching football like a year and a half.
Right, yeah.
Like, I was that sick, like, devastated. So
but now I'm like, I definitely want to like contribute in a way. I don't know if full-on coaching is the route for me, but I've been mentoring some college students over the past year or so, and so I'm thinking of just continuing the business idea as I mentioned, and then also just building a mentorship program or something of that nature, or just being a mentor for athletes specifically, being able to, give them some guidance and reassurance that whatever situation you are in is not permanent, and whatever's ahead of you can be whatever it can be. You're not going to be able to know exactly what, but you can thrive, you can be happy in anything that you do.
Right. And like they say, like, sometimes the best is what, like, the unknown, like the not knowing. And I think that's what, scare a lot of people. I know people like, man, you say the same thing on the podcast. But I'm like, yo, it's so true, y'all. Like, so get used to me saying it, though. But, like, a lot of people walk by sight. Like, they walk about, like, they walk by they see the where their situation is. They see no money in their account. They see themselves in pain. They see these things, and so that's all they can see. That's all they can see versus like having faith, like walking by faith, not by sight, like that. You're just believing that things are gonna get better. You know what I mean? You're also taking the necessary steps as well, but you're also like just believing, like seeing past your
faith in God, faith in yourself, faith in your family. Just that, like you said, just that belief in general. Sure. Right,
definitely. And then but you got some athletes or who are gonna watch this, first off, transitioning from athletes to life, I heard you hit on a few things, but what did that help you with as far as translating to life? Because I feel like they would always tell us too that business people want to hire the athletes.
Oh yeah.
Why?
You said it earlier, but being able to stay cool under pressure, I think that's one of the biggest things. There's nothing like going head to head in a football game with thousands of fans watching, and it's violent, it's physical, and then you got tie game, 1 second left, you got to throw a Hail Mary, you got to catch it to win.
Right.
So you don't see that everywhere. You don't see that anywhere else actually, other than sports. And so being able to handle it under pressure, and then also being able to work alongside people of various backgrounds. We at Mountain Point, we all had somewhat different backgrounds, but we all Arizona natives and similar neighborhoods here and there. But then even when you get to the college level, they're from everywhere, every type of family, every type of city, every type of background. And so being able to work together on that helps you better understand people in general, and that's very valuable.
Right. Hey, don't you miss that dining table? Yo, that's probably the biggest thing I miss about college. Man. You eat for free, and then get that $600 to eat at restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
bro.
In the season too, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Man,
come on, Brett. You already, guys. So look, understand this. You already getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the facility. You already got snacks, everything. Yeah. You can go to the cafeteria on campus and get breakfast, lunch, dinner there, and then they're giving you food after practice, and you It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we ever went hungry. I'm but we also eat 5,000 calories a day. I'm we older now. I can't.
No, I can't do that.
I'm shoot, I eat cheeseburgers now. My stomach's all poop and I'm bloated and all this good stuff, man. But Bug, I definitely felt like it was important to, sit down with you because, like I said, you're definitely somebody who's respected to the highest regard. And I remember just even us talking last time you came out, we had a fun night that night.
Yeah, it was fun.
We was all out, right? We was all having a good time. And I know you were just you were man, I want to be able to do more and bring more. Right. But I'm Bud, man, you've done a lot. The way people talk about you, just goes to show, man, you like that because I even have to remind myself sometimes, you know what I mean? Because like I said, we human. Like I said, we're the type of people where the pressure we put on ourselves is already enough. You know what I mean? So like I say, to go still around to this day and I go place and they you're that person and you were that guy and you were this and that and it just makes me not that I need it, because I don't, you know what I mean? I don't need it. I know who I am. I'm happy with myself. But just that, man, people, the way people look at us, just to know how people feel about us, the impact that we made. I looked up to you. You inspired me. So it's man, we've touched so many lives.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And we're gonna touch so much more as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and then for me, it was just I kind of lost sight of that a little bit since I had lived so far away.
Right.
Not really understanding the impact that I made here. Right. And so I've been itching to get back and find a way to really contribute again more directly and. Just being humble and appreciative that people do look up to me for this kind of stuff.
Right. No, that's real. And then one more thing I want to talk about too, because you say just those expectations itself. I feel and let me know your take on this. I feel life is so much easier. When you stop living for the expectations of others, caring what how other people feel about you. Things like that. I feel that makes it a lot easier to I feel people who struggling with that, struggling with transitioning, struggling with how the way people feel about you, live and make yourself happy.
Yeah, I mean, when you live off of other people's expectations, you lose the power, you lose the ability to propel yourself forward, and you're relying on everybody else's validation and confirmation that you're worthy, that you're valuable, and that's going to end eventually for anybody. Right. And so when it does, that's going to hurt. And so how well can you believe in yourself? How well can you give yourself expectations and goals that you want to achieve, and understanding that it's okay if you miss them. Just keep working, keep pushing, keep trying. And that's with everything: sports, school, job, family, relationships, parenting. Like, try and try again and just keep going, because that's the opportunity we've been given, is life, and is to live it.
Right, that's real right there. Man, look, I don't know what else to say, man. But like, man, that's good. That's a good way to end it, Boog, man. Is there anything you want to say? Shout out anybody that's gonna watch this, maybe anything like that.
No, I mean, to be honest, just shout out to everybody that I've been around through these years. You know, I may not be directly contacting you all the time, but I do think about my Mountain Point teammates and everybody I met through club basketball. Even at college, at both U of O and Northwestern, those guys in those receiver rooms. I was going through a tough time, but you guys definitely are people I think about and appreciate. So, but yeah.
Man, that's real, Boog. And
Yeah.
man, like I said, man, I just thank you once again, man. Y'all, I found him. Where's Waldo? Where's Jalen? He's right here, y'all. I found him, man. It was a great sit down, Boog, man.
Yeah,
I definitely
definitely.
appreciate you, man. Just taking the time and, you know, to come out here and sit
Yeah.
on the platform, man.
Thanks
So,
for having me. Now we gotta kick it more.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah.
You already know.
Let 'em
We here. We out.